I usually don't like to share stuff like this, but I personally own a gun myself. And you don't see me pulling it out willy-nilly every time I'm fucking popping off at somebody, and y'all know I'm a piece of work, and y'all know I will pop off in a second, but you don't see me pulling the strap. Like, literally, for what? For what? It's not worth it. It's not worth it at all. Whatever I'm mad about at that second, I'm going to get the fuck over it. Like, literally. It's not worth me pulling out a gun and losing my life, losing my freedom, causing somebody else to lose their family member, their parent, whatever the fuck. Y'all doing too much. Doing way too much. Some of y'all need to sit down and think about what it is y'all doing before y'all doing it. Because some of y'all out here thinking y'all grown and y'all ain't.
Beautiful morning. You know why? Because episode 14 of the Sweet Remedy podcast dropped last night, bitch. Go check us out on YouTube, motherfucker.
What's the address of your emergency?
I got certified. My cousin is 30 weeks pregnant. She got shot.
Screams everywhere as people ran for safety at Stafford Park in Maple Heights on Labor Day.
Listen, is she breathing at all?
No, it's blood everywhere. It's coming out of her mouth.
Okay, all right. We're on the way, okay? Who shot her?
Her brother.
Around 3:15 p.m. on September 4th, Labor Day, Maple Heights police arrived at Stafford Park on Mayville Avenue after receiving numerous calls about a fight and shooting at the park. Upon arrival at the scene, they would find multiple people suffering from gunshot wounds.
Stafford Park in Maple Heights was packed with families and church groups Monday afternoon celebrating the holiday, when suddenly a 29-year-old man pulled out a gun and started shooting.
I just heard the gunshots and I turned around. I was cutting a watermelon. I turned around and everybody was running towards this way. And when we tried to get all the kids, I didn't panic too much, but I did panic.
Johnny Coleman was at the park with his church group.
Really, I wasn't scared, but the kids, I was more concerned about the kids. You know, a straight bullet, they ain't got no names on them.
Maple Heights Councilman Stafford Chanette calling the killings discouraging.
It's senseless, and thank God more people didn't get hurt. We thank God that didn't happen, but it's just so unfortunate, and I think that, especially in an inner city like ours, it takes you backwards.
The victims were identified as 30-year-old expecting mother Mercedes Iverson and her 31-year-old husband, Trey Norbert Carter III, who were both sadly pronounced dead at the scene, along with their unborn baby. A 13-year-old juvenile was also grazed on the arm by a bullet and was subsequently treated and released from a local hospital. A look into the case revealed that Mercedes and her brother, 29-year-old Jason Iverson, had been involved in an ongoing dispute. After finding out Mercedes and her husband were at a local park, Iverson arrived at the park around 3:15 p.m., immediately getting into a verbal and physical altercation with the couple. Both Mercedes and her husband attempted to flee the scene in a nearby vehicle. Iverson allegedly followed the pair, confronting them in the parking lot before firing several shots into the vehicle, fatally striking Mercedes and her unborn baby. Mercedes' husband, Trey, fled the vehicle, with Iverson chasing him through the park to a bathroom where he shot and killed him. Iverson fled the scene but was apprehended by Maple Heights police officers just a short time later.
Just like today, yesterday was a beautiful day here at Stafford Park, but that all took a turn for the worse when neighbors heard gunfire ring out.
I know CPR or something. It just hurt.
This mom in tears as she recalls the chaos that broke out behind her home at Stafford Park in Maple Heights yesterday afternoon, just after 3.
Because I wanted to help, and I just didn't know what happened.
Denisha was unloading her groceries when all of a sudden she saw people running away from the park and into her yard.
I seen elderly people falling in my yard, walkers, canes, kids screaming, "Mommy." I'm just trying to figure out what they need. He ran past my house. And 2 seconds later, hands up, I'm about to drop my groceries. I don't know what's going on.
Police tell 19 News a family had been fighting. That's when Jason Iverson, a 30-year-old pregnant woman's brother, allegedly pulled the trigger and killed her. After that, he went after her 31-year-old husband, who tried to escape, but police say was gunned down and killed in the bathroom. The brothers' gunfire also grazed a 13-year-old.
They were a beautiful family. They just started a family together. That's so sad. I don't know what can be that serious.
Maple Heights Councilman Stafford Chenette says there is no tolerance for the gun violence that's tearing our communities apart. He says, quote, "I want to dispel the belief that we as a community should embrace the cultural violence theory. Embracing such an idea creates a community where we become immune to violence. Violence is real, but prioritizing safety is the first step to deterring the same."
Mercedes and Jason's mother, who was present as the shocking chain of events unfolded right before her eyes, was devastated, stating that the couple was only at the park that day to do her a favor by dropping off her great-grandson's stroller. Out of nowhere, her son showed up and things quickly took a deadly turn. According to her, Mercedes and her brother Jason were really close at one point. He could count on her for almost anything. So what exactly went wrong? What would cause a brother to shoot his own sister and husband in cold blood? She says she has not spoken to her son since the tragedy and isn't sure when she will be able to forgive him, if at all.
31-year-old Trey Carter and his wife, 30-year-old Mercedes Iverson, were getting ready to welcome a baby girl into the world in November. Iverson's mother, Cynthia Ivy, tells me they had already picked out a name, Ava.
They were very excited. Trey was more excited than Mercedes because Mercedes was the one that was sick.
She says the Parma couple was only at Stafford Park in Maple Heights on Labor Day to do her a favor, to drop off a stroller.
Then out of the blue, my son shows up, and as soon as he sees them, he just goes off. So I don't know what he was doing before that got him so enraged, but he just wouldn't let up.
Do you have any idea why your son was so upset with your daughter and her husband?
Well, that's a long story in itself, but the bottom line is he was holding a grudge. He just wouldn't let it go. It just festered, and I guess that was the end result.
Never in a million years could Ivy have imagined that her 29-year-old son, Jason Iverson, would shoot and kill his own pregnant sister and her husband in cold blood.
Him and his sister has always been close. He's always been able to call her and she would bail him out of whatever it was.
What do you think it was? You think he just snapped?
I think so. There were a couple of setbacks that he was dealing with in his life. And I guess he just couldn't handle it. Everything just came to a head. To my knowledge, he was supposed to have been seeking help. Being a parent, it's kind of hard when you have grown children that have issues because there's only so much you can do.
She says it's hard to accept that her daughter's killer and her son are the same person.
It's very hard for me to come to terms with that, because they're both my kids.
29-year-old Jason Iverson is being charged with murder and attempted murder and is being held until his arraignment in Garfield Heights Municipal Court. The Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation was called out to assist with the collection of evidence. Maple Heights detectives are handling the investigation. The case remains ongoing.
Hey girl, and not to be, this is my own personal thing, but I'll talk to my friends and I'll text Fallon or something and be like, is this crazy? Am I crazy? Or am I wrong? Or, have one person you're comfortable with that's your sounding board that can make you feel comfortable or, make you feel understood,
Oh, and Fallon does that for you? America, you heard it here first.
Oh my God. I can't always talk to you. If you know what? Sometimes if you're the one that made me upset, I don't want to talk to you.
You heard it here first, America.
You heard it here first. Sometimes she keep me from offing you. So shout out, because I could be one of them. I could be in the OJ trial.
Mental health.